How does one talk about mind, life, philosophy, religion, gaming, or any other appealing topic on an internet where people interpret everything however they want, usually without thinking? How does a random 18-year-old Brazilian fast food worker talk about his state of mind over a gaming background to someone living continents away? How does a guy who was once known for gaming content suddenly shift to talking about life? Does that even work? Where's the rule saying we need to be coherent, or that we need to make what people enjoy watching? Where's the rule saying a small channel can't blow someone's mind? There isn't one. We live in a world full of human-made rules, morals, right and wrong, and honestly, that's good for keeping people organized. But it's also great at making people live on autopilot, even doing horrible things just because everyone does that. I used to be like that too, but somehow my mind changed. Sometimes I look at my past and it feels like I'm basically another person. I once deleted everything, my old email, my old YouTube channel, and my old game accounts I spent thousands on. I felt I had to change in order to grow. Sometimes killing your past is the baptism you need. People fear change, but change usually means you are evolving. Putting something back feels sad, and we get nostalgic for things we had to leave behind. Nostalgia is one of the weirdest feelings ever. It hits good and bad at the same time. I remember things that warm my heart deeply. Stuff that used to be my favorite and biggest inspiration. It feels so good, indeed. And it's also biased as hell. We remember the good and forget the bad. We like moments with people who aren't in our lives anymore, but not the fights we had with them. When you look at the world with a wider perspective, you'll start noticing those tiny natural patterns. We love focusing on the good parts. They weigh more than the bad ones. But why do we do that for the past and not the present? I once saw a post saying, "Why do we rest in peace? Why don't we live in peace too?" I haven't lost many people in this life. What I've lost a lot is time. And honestly, losing time is probably worse. Losing someone hurts a lot. But what destroys you is realizing you didn't spend the time you could have with them. Or that you wanted more time with them. Death is the most normal thing ever. We all know it. Even if we ignore it. Even if it sounds scary as hell sometimes. And so people dream of going back to the past. Time becomes the hidden factor behind everything. People say we work for money, that time is money, and we just accept that. But think about it. Is money really worth your time? Sure. Money buys stuff, makes life easier, but how many times have you heard the best things in life aren't paid? Isn't it pretty obvious you can get money back but never your time? Not sure, man. I think focusing on having more free time matters more than focusing on getting richer. Our system is well built in some ways and sickening in others. Have you noticed how entire industries get ruined for the sake of money? How mobile gaming has sunk into ads and awful games? Even though today's phones are insanely powerful. Far more powerful than the computer that sent humans to the moon. Companies still choose profit over quality. They once thought phones would dominate the gaming market and consoles would become stale, but they didn't. How did things get to this point? People spend most of their free time on autopilot. Have you ever noticed that even commuting counts as free time? Why not making something out of it? You don't need to do anything big, just use your mind. Just as music is art made of sound and literature is art made of words, philosophy is art made of thinking. Thinking deeply about life while you're on the bus, breaking down your own thought patterns, or anything like that. It's beautiful. Sad how many people die barely practicing this simple, pleasurable art. I see so many people saying they don't like philosophy, so many people saying they don't like thinking about their own lives, and I've never really understood why. Maybe it's because the version of philosophy they met was the boring one taught in school, not the cool one you can explore on your own. Crazy how often we define things that could be good for us using shallow stereotypes, and philosophy is just one example. Speaking of death, why do we care so much about a natural thing that barely changes anything on a global or universal scale? Why coffins? What about people who drowned, burned, disappeared? Why does the destination of the body matter if we aren't even there anymore? Wouldn't donating bodies for study or choosing green burials make more sense? Nobody has killed me yet. Nobody told me I'm going to hell yet. Nobody told me they hate me yet. But I know many will, or already do. How does one hate or judge others because of skin tone, nationality, gender, social class, hobbies, sexuality, or anything like that? Notice a pattern? All vague things none of us really controls, or that don't harm anyone. So why? Are we really that stupid? Being a minority isn't even being a minority. Most of the world is a minority in some way. Even the idea that women are a minority is wrong. There are more women than men. And what even are numbers? Humans love simplifying everything, and whenever something's different or complicated, they panic. Thinking about how insignificant the boxes we create are is tiring, I get it. Humans hate uncertainty. We're the only species that knows it's going to die. That alone explains a lot. Why we want control, why we want to belong, why we want to feel safe, why we want religions that make everything certain, why complicated stuff bothers us. Because it reminds us nothing is certain. Some people realize that and go crazy. Humans simplify even what shouldn't be simplified. You don't need to be fully atheist or fully believer. You don't need to be fully conservative or fully liberal. You don't need to stop laughing at immoral Instagram reels to be a better person. You don't need to stop joking or laughing easily to be reasonable. You don't need to be an ancient Greek to think deeply about life. If there's one natural pattern I see in life, is that nothing is 0 or 100. Everything is complex. The middle ground is usually the better option. It's kind of a miracle that I'm alive and talking to you right now. Isn't it insane how everything lined up throughout billions of years for you to hear my voice? Or how statistically there are more chances you're a brain floating and imagining everything than the universe actually existing. Let me ask you something. Would you rather kill or get killed? What if I told you getting killed isn't even that bad? Guess who got killed for doing what they believed was right? Jesus, the most famous man ever. Socrates, John the Baptist, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, they didn't kill, they were killed. And they are honored to this day. Maybe the desire to be recognized and remembered is actually stronger than the fear of death. Ever thought about that? Here's another thought. People worship those who die for their countries, and I get it. But is it really worth dying for a flag you didn't even choose? Seems obvious to me. I'm proud of my country too, up to a point, but I would never die for it. Where's the rule I have to? And what if in another timeline I was born under the enemy's flag? Isn't the military industry ridiculous? Wars happen because old men with too much power and zero empathy send teenagers to die for stupid ideas. It shouldn't exist, but humans are dumb enough to keep feeding it. It's crazy how obvious these things are, yet they sound utopian. How long do you think it would take to end all the hunger and misery in the world if everyone did their best to fix it? Maybe 10 years? Honestly, it could probably happen in a few weeks. Yeah, weeks. And the sad part is that the utopia isn't ending these problems but getting people to drop their greed, dirty politics, unequal power, and the profit they make from inequality. There is enough food, it just isn't distributed. There is enough money, it just isn't used the right way, and so on. I like to say how ego-corrupted we are. It causes a lot of our problems and it's right in front of us. We're not even living at the same time. I'm not talking about relativity, which is already interesting. I mean how countries can be medieval and futuristic at the same time. New Zealand and Japan are highly developed, yet NZ still mistreats its natives and Japan is extremely conservative. Meanwhile, Belarus and Eritrea aren't the easiest place to live. But nobody mentions how clean Belarus is or how insanely low crime rates are in Eritrea. Living under an authoritarian regime must be wild. We already know the worst parts of those places, but the lack of freedom has to be one of the hardest things. Imagine living somewhere you can't speak your mind or be yourself. Is that even a life worth living? Today I can type my own script, but many before me couldn't even keep their own hands. Maybe we're only free now because someone before us wasn't. It's crazy to think that if I had been born in the same place I live today but 200 years ago, I would most likely be a slave. But at the same time, if it were 600 years ago, I would be free and connected to nature. Studying different countries really opens your mind. You realize how many lifestyles exist and how much things change depending on the region and the era. Religion is one of the most interesting parts of studying countries. It shows how much faith is shaped by geography, way more than people admit. And studying other religions? Why isn't that normal? Why do so many religions preach the idea that they are the only right one? How did more than 1 billion people grow up hearing that? What makes a Christian better than a Muslim? Or a Hindu better than an ancient Polynesian believer? If you were born in the Americas before colonization, you'd worship the same gods people now call satanic. It's funny how people judge ancient religions without realizing that 500 years from now, future humans might look at our beliefs the exact same way. Time works in weird ways. Have you noticed how the most horrible human acts and world wars were even more than 100 years ago? What if in 100 years things are worse, or better, or just different? What if future people see killing animals for food as horrendous? I would understand that. Why is killing a fetus wrong but killing animals not? Why can some animals be eaten and others not? Where's the line of what should live? We're so incoherent. Slavery wasn't abolished that long ago and people used religion to justify it, and it was considered normal. The more you distance yourself from strict religious rules and look at everything with an open mind, the more you actually follow the good parts of it. People who follow everything blindly often fall into the same temptations, they just hide it. Is blind faith even faith? Or is it just obedience? Are the same old everyone does it pattern all over again? I once heard that an honest 1% belief can be worth more than a pretended 100%. Sure, some religions are based in obedience, but why do religions appeal so much to fear? Why are so many Christians only Christian because they fear hell? Why don't more Christians say they're Christian because Jesus was ridiculously wise and admirable, especially for the time he lived in? I wish we had a time machine so I could talk with him for 5 minutes. At some point, you just stop doing things because others expect you to. Believing something because you should rather than because you truly do. That's slavery of the mind. Freedom feels good. One of the biggest acts of freedom is deciding things for yourself. Seeing yourself as a natural being instead of a programmed adult robot. Why do we need to marry, buy a car, own a house, get a job? Why is that being an adult? That's expectation, not necessity. Imagine if people chose based on their hearts, not pressure. Imagine if we were as natural as animals. Pretty sure animals don't marry. I know, it's hard, and sometimes unnecessary. Why would I care if Google, English, iPhone and Android or our calendar are global standards? That's what we have. I wish things were different, more neutral, more practical, but there's not much I can do. Stoicism goes wild sometimes. It's weird how stuff we do unconsciously ends up being the smartest decisions we make. Almost like something inside us already knew what we needed before we could explain it. At the same time, it feels like everything we do is just to survive. Imagine if humans stopped caring about whether we'll die or not. Without fear, would we be more creative, honest, curious? Those unanswered questions are beautiful. One of the best feelings ever is knowing you don't owe anyone anything. Not because others don't matter, but because you are the only thing you're certain about. That's why I focus more on natural patterns than religions. Religions aren't bad, but they can hurt. Most people live as if they're immortal, postponing everything, wasting potential, choosing comfort over growth, as if there was a second life. I won't say it's impossible, but we shouldn't act as if faith was the truth. Another natural pattern I see is how interpretations vary insanely, and that doesn't automatically make one right and one wrong. I once talked about whether we should fully trust God. Christians quote Deuteronomy 6:5. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and strength. So they say you must not doubt his existence. But isn't having doubts part of my heart too? Ignoring them would mean I'm not using all my soul. At this point, we can interpret anything anyway. I like seeing the Bible as something that doesn't place humans above animals. The fate of humans is the same as animals. As one dies, so dies the other. They all share the same breath. I fully agree with that take. Humans are animals, anyway. We just pretend we aren't. Almost everything we do is instinct, not reason. Crazy how rationality is our biggest blessing, yet we barely use it. Desires are instinct. Getting rid of them brings mental clarity. Buddhism talks a lot about that, and I truly love it. The idea that desires weigh you down is real. And Taoism's idea of balance is exactly what we need in this messy techno third millennium world. One topic that exploded in this millennium is queer identity. And it's crazy knowing this video gets banned in some countries just for mentioning it. Shows how fragile human morals can be. We're tired of endless debates about something as simple as being gay instead of straight, like having gray eyes instead of brown, or being left-handed instead of right-handed. People forget every verse against homosexuality in ancient texts isn't about the modern concept of sexuality. How could you compare rape with consensual love or identity? How could you force a modern idea into a faith that's millennia old? Let me mix things a bit more. Why do we need so many labels? I love the philosophical idea of questioning gender in a world that says there are only two. But at the same time, why so many genders? There is neither Jew nor Greek, neither slave nor free, male nor female. For you are all one. Even if you remove the Christ part, the message is still beautiful. We don't need separation, we need unity. We forget there are far more important things in our holy books than judging others based on 3 lines instead of supporting them based on the entire message. Maybe I just want unity too much. Enough to compare an ant to V2FO8, a planet sitting who knows how far away. But in the end, they're both made of matter, right? And both have their place to exist in the universe. So why do we, who are literally the same species, feel the need to divide ourselves as if we were made of different stuff? Humans are reactive. People live like lines of code, always on if-else mode. If someone hurts you, why react the same? Why repeat what you hated when it was done to you? Epictetus said it doesn't matter what happens to you, only how you react. That hits the ego hard. Ego feels like a curse in our body. I feel limited in this human body. One of my biggest wishes was to just transcend. Stop being pushed back by instincts. Stop having to feed this bone chassis every day. Maybe there's something better and more real out there. Uncertainty is wild. I wish I knew the truth. Maybe some religion is right. Maybe some alien religion is right. Life almost certainly exists out there. Humans fear that thought. Understandable. When we met new people, new cultures, new others, we didn't treat them well. So we're scared of what others could do to us if they're stronger. We pretend humanity evolves, but we repeat the same cycles. One of the craziest things I learned is that an Incan servant in 1400 shared 99.9% of his DNA with a Chinese craftsman from 1000 BC. And we still share the same percentage today. Humans basically do not evolve. or the pace of the universe doesn't care about ours. What changes is lifestyle, and it's scary how easily the environment shapes us when you think about it. The environment changes our lives insanely fast today. Years ago, my biggest fear was getting banned from a mobile game. My life felt like hell sometimes, not because something tragic happened, but because my mind was limited, forced into certain beliefs, behaviors, lifestyles, controlled by people who thought they were helping. As a kid, I wondered why adults were always right. Turns out adults aren't right, they just follow scripts. Most people are just living. No authenticity, no questioning, no understanding. Do people really think autopilot is worth the comfort it gives? Isn't autopilot the biggest trap stopping you from living the life you actually want? In one of your favorite EDM artist songs, the narrator's father even says, "One day you'll leave this world behind, so live a life you will remember," right? The number of people in a single church during my walk is insane. And that's one church out of 10 on that street. Not far from those churches are bars where people drink and listen to music that goes completely against them. And many of the same people go to both. Do people want truth or comfort? They want comfort. Comfort feels safer than meaning. Maybe admitting we're incoherent is the most coherent thing ever. What stopped you from being born a pigeon with a broken leg? Maybe we even chose what we would be born before birth. Who knows? What if the universe was created 5 minutes ago with fake memories? Maybe we should stop fearing death. If you're not scared, nothing controls you. Maybe I even made this video because it felt like something I needed to do before dying. But what if I died before posting it? Would anything change? What if it helps someone though? What if I am you? Life feels like a randomness show. I had tiny chances of being born in South America, but huge chances of being Brazilian once I was here. And here I am, just an average dude born in the most populated city in the country. Life is beautiful. Just being alive and conscious is worth more than we think. Uncertainty is part of it, and as a human, yeah, I kinda hate it too. We don't know if we'll die soon, if the internet will change, if the world will go to war, if AI will take over, or any other conspiracy theory people come up with. The chances vary. Some are tiny, some unrealistic, some actually possible. But the point is, we can't be sure about anything, and still, thinking about these possibilities is kind of fun. Why do I care so much if I'm 18, 19, 100, what even our birthdays? The universe has no calendar. Even the base stamp system is just a script. If humans didn't track age, would we grow slower? Faster? Would childhood last longer? Would adulthood even exist? You know what's interesting? Indigenous tribes. A person there is considered an adult way earlier than in modern society. If you can survive on your own, you're an adult. Our society is insanely complex and kinda built to treat you like a cog in a machine. We study longer just to get jobs that keep the system running. Sure, we have more choices and better quality of life overall, but it's far from perfect or anywhere near its potential. Stores full of workers who need money, rich people wanting to get richer because that's their meaning. Are we robots now? We worry about opinions, rewatch our own work 10 times while others watch once and move on. We care too much about things that won't matter in 2 minutes. Even this video took a month to make, and you'll probably watch it in a couple of minutes. Coaches say we should care more about well-being than opinions, but quotes alone don't really change anything. Part of what changed me was honestly just luck. It probably would have taken way longer if I didn't have the internet or the little freedom I have today. I am probably the person I am now because all my biological features were set without my consent, and everything just happened by chance. Who knows? Theories aside, my real change came from a huge desire to live, to be truly free, healthy, to follow my heart, my hobbies, my art, and from realizing that we can hold onto the beautiful parts of life regardless of the bad ones. Life is beautiful, and it can get better, no matter our religion, nationality, background, whatever. I once read an apocryphal text that said something like, "Just as the deer run through the fields, run with your heart open to life." I can't really describe my state of mind. I might be wrong in some things and right in others. Maybe I made you think. Maybe I bored you. Maybe I made you laugh. Maybe I made you happy. Maybe this changed nothing. Maybe it changed someone. Maybe I just realized my own state of mind is even more absurd than I thought.